Welcome to the University of Louisville's walkthrough presentation of the ClinicalTrials.gov Protocol Registration System, or PRS for short. We would like to thank the ClinicalTrials.gov administrators from across the nation who created these PowerPoint slides, and also the Clinical Trials Registration Task Force for making this and other ClinicalTrials.gov educational resources widely available. We will begin with some general tips to facilitate your user experience. We recommend working in Chrome or Firefox browsers and utilizing Microsoft Word to create and edit fields. Please do not write in first or second person. Be sure to define all acronyms and, of course, to check for spelling errors and typos. The draft receipt hyperlink at the top of the trial record's main page will provide a copy of your record in PDF or RTF so that you can view it the way it will appear in the PRS. Enter all of your trial's information before returning to review errors or problems identified by the PRS system. Some data elements are required, while others are either not mandatory or are conditionally required. This is a screenshot of the public ClinicalTrials.gov landing page. Patients and doctors can search the database to learn about new and existing studies. The researcher portal for the PRS is located at register.clinicaltrials.gov. Our organization name is U Louisville with a capital U and a capital L. For assistance with creating a new account or resetting your password, please email trialgov@louisville.edu or call 502-852-7247. After logging in, you can see that the main page lists all trial records to which you have been granted access. To create a new record, click on the hyperlink at the top left. Please note that if your records have issues that require your attention, they will be accompanied by red bullet items identifying the error or problem. When entering a new record, you will first complete the study identification fields. We recommend entering the UofL IRB number for the organization's unique protocol ID field. We would like to call out some useful links that will appear in this and other sections. The Help link provides data entry tips and study examples. The Definitions link contains the statutory definitions for purposes of utilizing the PRS and/or complying with the federally mandated registration results entry. As you can see in the key at the bottom of the page, asterisks show required fields either across the board, by date, or conditionally. Once you are ready, press the green Continue button on the bottom of the page. After you click the Continue button, a dialog box will appear explaining the data entry process for the remainder of the record. Press OK to proceed. When entering the official title, please be consistent with the formal IRB title. If the clinical study is funded in whole or in part by a U.S. federal government agency, the complete grant or contract number must be submitted in the secondary ID field. NIH grant numbers should consist of an activity code, which has 3 or 4 numbers and letters, such as R01, an institute code, which has 2 letters, and a 6-digit serial number. It is possible that the 6-digit number on the end could have a dash and suffix. Sometimes the link with NIH Reporter doesn't work properly, and an error will flag that this is not a recognized NIH grant number. When this happens, ClinicalTrials.gov recommends using Other and putting in the NIH grant number manually. When the next update is made, or a few weeks later, this can be fixed back to an NIH grant number without the error. When you are ready, choose Quit to save and stop entering data, or Continue to move forward. If you quit, this dialog box will appear. Press OK. After your basic study information has been entered, you will be able to view the record status section information. Here you will have an opportunity to update who has access to view your trial record. The record owner username is shown at the top left of this portion of the page. To give others access to your record, click the Edit hyperlink to the right of the Access list. To request access for a new individual, please email trialgov@louisville.edu or call 502-852-7247. To continue editing, click the Open hyperlink to the left of the protocol section header. As you can see by the red text noting Information Required and Warning, we have multiple fields left to complete. As you progress, check marks will appear next to completed fields. You can return to the record summary page to track your progress. After you've opened the Study Status section, you will see these fields. The record verification date must be updated every time the rest of the record is revised or reviewed for accuracy. This is how the PRS tracks compliance with regulations. The overall recruitment status field refers to patient contact and data collection, not data analysis or status of the study with the IRB. The active, not recruiting status is defined as study is ongoing. In other words, patients are being treated or examined, but participants are not currently being recruited or enrolled. Completion dates are very important, especially for trials with federally mandated results entry. They drive the timeline for results. You do not have to complete the day field for these dates unless you wish to. When you are finished, please press the Save button to proceed. Please be aware that completion dates are based on data collection. They are not based on data analysis, database lock, publication, or IRB closure. Please also keep in mind that results for the primary outcome measures are due within 1 year of the primary completion date. Results for secondary outcome measures are due 1 year after the completion date for those outcomes. This is the screen you will see for the Sponsor Collaborators section. If the PI holds an IND or IDE, then please designate the PI as sponsor investigator, the responsible party for the study. Add collaborators to the study if there are any. Collaborators include funders and/or collaborating institutions. If there is no IND or IDE involved in this study, then designate the PI as principal investigator, the responsible party for the study. Enter the University of Louisville as the sponsor of the study. Now we'll move to the Oversight section. If you have any uncertainty at all about whether a drug or device is FDA regulated, please contact us at 852-7247. Neither the FDA-regulated intervention nor the Section 801 data elements fields are utilized by the PRS. These last two questions have effectively been replaced by the first two and are no longer required. Leaving them at Select is fine. Enter University of Louisville's IRB information on this page. Once your study's IRB approval is issued, please return and update both this section and the record verification date in the Study Status section. In the Study Description section, you are only required to enter a brief summary. Please describe the study hypothesis in lay terms and omit all personal pronouns. Enter each condition being studied. Use the Search Mesh link to verify condition terms using the National Library of Medicine's medical subject headings. Remember that you can look up any defined terms in the Interventional Study Design section using the Definitions link. You must add each arm and arm type of your study using a descriptive title. Studies using multiple doses of the same drug can list the drug as one intervention. The doses should then be listed as separate arms. List any possible placebos or secondary interventions, each as a separate arm. For studies that have multiple arms, you must link arms and interventions in a cross-reference table. This is required even when it seems that it's obvious that Arm A does intervention A and Arm B does intervention B. A protocol and statistical analysis plan must be submitted with results and will be public for studies with a primary completion date of January 18, 2017 or later. You must label each outcome as either primary or secondary. You do not need to list tertiary or exploratory outcomes. Outcome measures should specifically indicate what is being measured. Use precise units. For example, if you are measuring body mass index or BMI, you would specify that the units being measured are in kilograms per meter squared. Do not try to combine multiple outcomes into a single measure. The next few slides will share tips for entering outcome measures. We'll begin with tips for the outcome measure title. When entering the title, specify what will be measured, not why. Include the metric, for example, scale, score, number, or percentage. List outcomes separately, excepting when a composite score of multiple measures will be used. It's important to note that this would be acceptable because they specify as scores were being reported. If the study authors had simply listed this as a composite of all-cause mortality, then reviewers would want these items listed out separately. Here are some tips for the outcome measure time frame. For data that is collected and then analyzed at a later time point, for example, imaging, the time frame should usually begin when the data were collected. So, if you are collecting CT images from a single CT, usually the length of the scan is an acceptable time frame. If measuring change between the time points, add the word change to the title. If you're not measuring a change, then each time point needs to be listed as a separate outcome measure. Remember that the completion dates in the study status section should reflect the completion of data collected for your outcome measures. And finally, here are some tips for filling the description field for outcome measures. If a scale will be used, describe the range and meaning of the scores. Note and further explain if necessary whether any scale is nonlinear. Here are a few examples demonstrating proper outcome measure entry. For our first example, note the precise title, which references the scale used to assess baseline pain. The description includes the range of this scale and explains what it means. Since there are 2 points being assessed, the word change has been added to the title. For our second example, please note that the proper title includes the metric being assessed in this measure. The description defines what constitutes an adverse event, and the time frame includes the specific length of time during which adverse events are tracked. Most of the eligibility fields are pretty straightforward. For the eligibility criteria, make sure that all criteria you post are appropriate for the public to see. Aim to match the informed consent more than the protocol in case you need to mask something from the participants. If necessary, you can use the detailed description field to flag that the eligibility criteria are deliberately incomplete to preserve the scientific integrity of the study. Most of the eligibility fields are pretty straightforward. For the eligibility criteria, make sure that all criteria you post are appropriate for the public to see. Aim to match the informed consent more than the protocol in case you need to mask something from the participants. If necessary, you can use the detailed description field to flag that the eligibility criteria are deliberately incomplete in order to preserve the scientific integrity of the study. The federal system requires that we include a central contact person. To preserve publication opportunities, we strongly recommend including an overall study official as well. This can be the PI. For multi-site studies, all sites must be entered. Use the Add Location button to add additional sites. If you have entered a central contact, then an individual facility contact for each site is not required, but it may be helpful if a potential subject calls or emails about the study. You still will need to enter the facility name and recruitment status. Site recruitment status must be consistent with overall recruitment status. If the overall recruitment status is not recruiting, then no site can be recruiting. References fields are optional. Studies available in PubMed are linked automatically if the NCT number was included in the publication. Others will need to be added manually. We've now discussed the entire study record. When you return to the record summary page, it will show which sections still need attention. Please remember to click the spelling link to address spelling errors and unexpanded acronyms, both of which may result in having the record kicked back for revision before it can be made public. Make sure to review for any problems identified in red text. Errors must be addressed before releasing the record. Warnings indicate potentially serious issues that should be reviewed and addressed as needed. When the record summary shows all green checks, the PI should carefully review the record. False statements are criminal under the regulations. For new registrations, the PI should read each section carefully. Until you click Entry Complete, the record remains in draft form, or, as the PRS system considers it, in progress. Once you click Entry Complete and then Approve, the record will go to the responsible party to release it to the PRS administrator's review. I'll discuss this review process in a later slide. At the bottom right, you will see the acronym FDAAA, or FDAA. This field denotes whether the system believes your trial is an applicable clinical trial and subject to mandatory results reporting requirements. At the University of Louisville, if your trial is identified as a probable ACT, then you must provide results information. The record owner is identified in the first field on the left column. Whoever initiates the registration is automatically assigned as the record owner, but this can be changed if needed. The record owner should add the PI and anyone else on the study team who needs to edit the record to the access list. Can a study record be deleted? The answer is that it depends. A ClinicalTrials.gov record that has been released to the public can never be deleted. These records can be revised or transferred, but not deleted. However, if your study has not yet been released to the public, you may press the delete link that is between the record status and protocol section fields. Once the record is released, the federal PRS administrators at ClinicalTrials.gov conduct a manual review of the record. If major issues are identified, the record owner and responsible party will receive notification from ClinicalTrials.gov with comments explaining the issues. The study will be reset to In Progress. The study owner and/or responsible party must correct the issues and release the record within 15 calendar days. This is a statutory requirement. If no major issues are identified, the study will be assigned an NCT number and published on the public side of the database, or ClinicalTrials.gov. This whole process takes about 2 to 5 business days. Even after a study is published, it is still possible to receive advisory comments. Correcting advisory comments is not mandatory. Now that your record is released to the public, is everything complete? Not quite yet. The law requires updates every 12 months and within 30 days of recruitment status changes or amendments that affect information in a ClinicalTrials.gov record, especially recruitment status, location, and contact information. ClinicalTrials.gov uses the record verification date field as the trigger for determining the next 12-month update, so make sure to keep that field current. Please know that failure to update information on ClinicalTrials.gov can result in penalties. And of course, no recruitment can take place without IRB approval. The Federal Database Administrators and our University of Louisville team will both work to help you remember to make any required updates. Problem records are usually records that have not been marked as completed, active studies that have not been updated, or where the record verification date has not been updated, records missing one or more FDAW required data elements such as responsible party, study start date, primary completion date, primary outcome measure, or records that appear to be overdue for FDAW results reporting. The database will help automatically determine whether or not you are required by law to share results information on ClinicalTrials.gov. However, this analysis relies on data entered by the responsible party. If any data is not correctly entered, then the PRS assessments may not be correct. We would like to close by again thanking the team members from multiple institutions who helped to create this slide deck. If you have any questions or would like assistance with the database, please call us at 502-852-7247 or email trialgov@louisville.edu.